What's going on, everyone? It's LFC Transfer Room, and today we're going to unpick the web of lies. It's called, Kev, the web of lies, because of everything Howard Webb said. And I mean, we'll go into that, and then we'll have a chat about the new leadership team coming in at LFC and stuff like that, because that's been formally announced today and confirmed and stuff. And to sort of navigate this, obviously I've got Kev. It's a Wednesday, so me and Kev are going to sort of dig around into this. Did you watch it? Did you see the Michael Owen show?
I did. I didn't watch it because it would anger me and frustrate me even more than what I am already. But I can guess that he has conjured up a way of not giving a penalty and providing substance to the referee for making the right decision. And I'd expect Michael Owen hasn't asked the right questions or applied enough pressure to understand that as to where they've come to, and has just accepted what Webb has said to him and has taken it as gospel. Have I summed it up well?
You've pretty much nailed what happened, and I think to give you a bit of context to it, Kev, there's certain things that were said there that just didn't make any sense in terms of logic. And Michael Owen said nothing. You know, he's got his Liverpool mates going around on the media saying how much he loved Liverpool, how much he wanted to come back, how much he wants to be revered by the fans and stuff like that. And then he goes on a show where he's got the opportunity to actually ask questions Liverpool fans want answers to. And he's just, yes, Mr. Webb, no, Mr. Webb, whatever you say, Mr. Webb. You know, as long as I keep this show, that's all I care about. I don't care about, you know, the quality of football. I don't care about the quality of it. I'm not going to hold you to account. I just want this lovely little show that gives me a little bit of money that I can put into racehorse. And it's a real disappointment.
Yeah.
Now, close your eyes, Kev. Imagine the scene. You're Michael Oliver. You're there. You're mic'd up. The Docu McAllister challenge happens. You're mic'd up. You go, I don't think it was a foul. I'm too scared to make that decision. And then VAR comes. Both went in high.
The problem I've got, I'll be honest, James, the amount of times we have these decisions, and it goes deeper than the club itself. It goes to a unison.
It isn't about the Liverpool thing.
It's not. It's not.
It's about communication and effort.
It is, and it's about getting the level of accuracy to go with the product that is branded as the best in the world. Now, if that isn't up to the actual standards, then all supporters should be unison and be fighting together collectively for the amount of decisions that have gone in against what everyone would perceive as being the correct decision and the correct manner. We are losing. We are very inconsistent with the VAR. We are very inconsistent with our referees, but we're branded as the best football product in the world, and we get broadcasting rights based on that considerably 5 times, maybe 10 times higher than any other league in the world. For that reason, our standards have to be of a high quality, and if they're not being if that expectation isn't being met, then everyone should be in unison together, regardless of who you support and who it is. We should be collectively, as supporters, as fans. Game without the fans is nothing. So if we all stand together and expect a lot and expect the inconsistency to be challenged in the right way, then that's where we start as fans. We're doing this individually. And it feels though it's an individualism, and they can get away with that because no one's coming together. It's only when you stand together and you are unison together that you'll get any kind of input or any kind of movement in that direction. And until that happens, we are going to have these, dare I say, managed interviews in which they'll only talk about certain things in a certain manner and only answer certain questions in a certain way. And the expectation is that you're not allowed to confront them in the way that fans would like to. And that's where I stand with it at the minute. So regardless of how Webb says his product isn't working, and we need to look at other products that could come in and do a better job. And as fans, we have the FSA that we should all be on board with, because that represents every supporters club up and down the country, and we should be in unison together. We all want the Premier League to be regulated. Why don't we want the VAR and the referees to be regulated in the right way, in a consistent manner? So that's where I am with it. Sorry for the the ramblings, but
I'm completely with you on it. I think the thing that got me, the thing that really struck me with this one, was when I think about how they communicated. Like the reason I gave you that example was both went in high straight away. Michael Oliver's thinking in his head, I missed something because I don't think McAllister went in high, but I must have made a mistake.
Yeah.
Now I think about rugby, I think about cricket, I think about other sports with tennis, and I think
absolutely,
first and foremost, he should have the referee should be able to ask questions of the VAR.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. So he should be able to say to VAR, please can you check whether or not who got the ball first?
Yeah.
I'd like to know. I believe Doku got it first, but I'd need that checked. Why can't the referee, if he is refereeing the game, make demands of VAR about what he would like them to check? The next point is how they communicate back. The fact that they're saying he went in high, the fact that they're saying he invaded Doku's space, he's painting a picture, taking the subjective decision away from the referee. So you are re-refereeing the game because you're painting a picture in how you're communicating. Therefore, you're not independent. You're not checking facts. You're being subjective, and you're leading a subjective discussion.
Absolutely. For me as well, James, I was expecting, for how close it was, I was expecting the VAR to go, do you know what? We would like you to have a look yourself and see if we feel it's this, but we're going to ask you to go to the screen to have a look and review it and see if you see what we see, and then determine it from that point of view. That was an option that could have been done. Now, had that been done and followed, but again, this is going to be the new black for the next week or two, and then until something else happens, and we're back to square one again.
I completely agree, and I think about things like how rugby referees say, I think he grounded the ball. I'm not sure whether someone got the hand on me. Please, can you check for this? Please, can you check for that? This is what I, as the referee, am directing you to do on my behalf. If I've missed something else, please point it out. Because they might say, "Oh, actually, you knocked it on this," and stuff like that. That's fine. For Howard Webb to come out and say, like in this show, oh, well, because it was a subjective referee's decision, if he'd have given it a penalty, it was a penalty. If he hadn't given it a penalty, it wasn't a penalty. Well, obviously, he's not got enough information. You don't give him the ability to quiz you.
No.
You then feed information that is misleading that referee, and therefore the wrong decision, in my opinion, in that circumstance, and in many other throughout the season, like the red cards and everything like that, have been made.
It's becoming too much of a farce. It's too much of a coincidence that we're continually having these discussions, and we're not talking about football. We're actually talking about refereeing decisions and the inconsistency that's being shown and not getting to the right decision. And it frustrates me as a fan. Now, the problem for me is I'm in a stadium where I'm not getting communicated to, and I've got to assume what is going on through my own mind and my own pea-brain logic as to what is happening. And that's wrong for the fans within the stadium, that we're not even getting any kind of communication whatsoever. And I feel like a second citizen because we're not getting anywhere near what someone in the living room may get, because they will have the commentators who will hear what's going on but are not allowed to publish it. So they're hearing what's going on, so you have more communication than what we do within the stadium. It's only about 2 minutes later that we end up, oh yeah, well, it's a VAR check. Oh right, okay. So what are they checking for now? It's it's frustration as a fan, and it's frustrating as a viewer who pays their money to watch a game of entertainment. It was a great game of football between two great sides, and it came down to a decision like that. I thought we had the right people in charge to deal with that. Obviously, that was proved wrong. And again, we're now going down legal ways of using subjectiveness by Howard Webb and not using the common layman terms as a fan would like to be spoken to. And he is speaking more as a lawyer than actually as anything
You
else.
can't take culpability because we've
Yeah,
already threatened legal action based on what happened with Spurs. We lose the lead by a point. That Spurs one for me is
oh yeah,
a big door. Jen,
absolutely. Amazing,
as
Jen.
always,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. Always appreciate the support that you give to the channel and everything like that. And you're right for the stadium. I've said this on stream. I split my time between rugby and football. You go to a rugby, the referees, the loudspeaker across the stadium. Gary, can you check for grounding of the ball, please? Can you check for this? And it's on the big screen. Everyone can see it. Everyone's like, yeah, I think you got it down there. And everyone knows the process. Can you draw the lines for the offside, please? And everyone could see the lines being drawn. Why? That's not going to cause a riot.
It's not. But do you know what it goes back to, James? It goes back to the difference between how respected referees are within rugby, which is absolutely impeccable from everyone. How good the system is, but still needs tweaking. Because the no doubt fans of rugby will say, man, that there should be other things that should be looked at. But
we have more issues with the laws right now than we do the rules.
Well, exactly right.
Correct.
But then you look at what happens with football. Football goes back to 1980s, in which World in Action or someone like that done mic'd up a referee, and it was a lot of blue collar language that they didn't like and was opposed against. You don't get that with rugby, because rugby's more of a middle class. So we're going back to the classes again, as to the differential between both. So you have that, and they always use that as a barometer to say, well, oh no, we can never make up the players because they use foul language too much. They will for the first couple of games. After that, and they know it's on there. It won't be. Now there's no respect at the minute for any referee, and I understand it's a bad job, but that goes down to grassroots as well. So things need to be put in place to ensure that doesn't happen. Respect for the referees, respect for those who are making those decisions, and you're not always going to get them, especially at grassroots level. But by the time you get to professional, there should be some kind of mark of respect. But when you're seeing players being frustrated, rightly so in some cases, not necessarily in many, and you still see this, then it then becomes a problem, and they use that as a deterrent to make people up. And I'll be honest, we need that communication, we need that transparency. At the minute, we have a PGMOL who just basically feel as though they can make the rules and make them up as they go along, and not actually look at the fundamentals as to why it's a problem. I think there's an issue with the rules itself, especially with offside. I think we've tried to overthink the rules that are in the game. And more importantly, when it comes to the offside decision now, that is now down to millimeters because of the law that's in place. And that law needs to be changed and rectified, because we're now in a modern world. And that's where the VAR system needs to marry up. Until that's linked in, we're always going to have this carnage, this chaos, this inconsistency. And then we hear, oh, well, they were in Dubai for a few days before the game. It doesn't represent anything for us. And, Harry makes a good point. But again, we're in... If this goes down to 1 point, as you said, James, this is the worst fear for PGMOL, because they will then know that they've had a main part of this actual title running, and and through their problems and their corruptness is the reason why we're now in a state where Man City, the 150 rule breakers, may actually win the league based on that. So it's hard though. I quite like the rugby. I quite like listening to the referee and how respectful everyone is around the referee, even if he doesn't make the right decision. They now have certain things in place for the union where they have 5 minutes to review what's going on, or a 10-minute
Yeah.
review to ensure that that decision's has gone to right. I think they're looking at the worst thing for VAR is that other sports are probably looking at the frailties and are actually making theirs, fine tuning theirs so that this doesn't happen. So there's that involved as well, I think, as well. But I
Yeah,
don't
I
know if
mean,
you
to go
agree with
back
that.
to your blue collar swearing stuff like that, you're
Yeah,
right. Yeah, but once, let's say, Nunes gets heard on camera swearing, and his sponsor Adidas, something like that, say, if you do that again, we'll pull your
yeah.
funding. It'll soon bloody stop.
Oh yeah, they will do.
It's one of those,
It is, but the problem is that the issue you've got is that we also have inconsistency in European games as well. In UEFA, with UEFA, there's no consistency, there's no cohesion, and no matter what you do in your own league, it doesn't represent the wider brand of football. FIFA and UEFA need to come up with a consistently unchaotic review of how refs should be managed and who should be and how they should be reacting. It's difficult, and I think a lot of it's down to frustration from fans. I think I think together collectively we do need to put something together as fans and try and do something around that, because otherwise we'll continue to have these things. The fact that you can make a mistake. It's I quite like this. I don't know whether you'll enjoy this as a job, James, but you can actually make mistakes and don't actually get punished for it. You just get a week off. You don't have to. You don't have to mention as to why. You don't have to explain yourself if you've made a mistake. Imagine that as a job. If you're involved in that, would you want to change it? No, you wouldn't, would you? I don't have to. I don't have to explain myself as to why I've made that decision. But what I can do is I can suspend you for the next game because you're coming at me, because I'm trying to hide behind who I work for. So I'm going to give you a red card so you can't play next week. Great, isn't
I'll take it.
it?
I'll get paid, right? Yeah. One of the things that sticks in my mind with it as well is I don't mind refs getting it wrong, but I think the way they're implementing VAR is re-refereeing the game subjectively, not.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need the screen as much, because if I, as a ref, go, I want to ask these questions, and you tell me what happens, you don't need to run over to the screen and have a look. Did his foot make contact with his chest? Yes, right. So for me, that's a penalty. I've made that decision. That's fine. I've asked you a question. You give me the answer I need to it.
Yeah.
Did he touch the ball? No. Bosh. Done. And I think until we start to see referees empowered correctly, and then it's fine. You're a shit ref. You're a this ref. You're a that. That's just normal pub conversation.
It is.
Obviously, I think people have used Paul Tierney, Darren Ingle. There's some that are, some of the stats we've seen on that. I think you put one in the chat. And I'm not going to talk about Liverpool and the unfairness to do with us. This is about improving the system, because Howard Webb going on TV and lawyering up, in essence, in terms of his answers, isn't improving the system.
No.
Miking the refs. I don't believe in interviews for the ref after the match. Don't think that does anything. I think miking the ref during the match does something. Because I think interviewing the ref afterwards is just a barrage of questions that people aren't happy about.
Yeah.
Match report, issue that, bosh.
Yeah. There has to be something. And if something isn't right, or a decision was made rightly or wrongly, it should be pointed out. And I I fully think, not necessarily straight after the game, but I do think I agree with Darren as well. I think tribalism does get involved a lot, a
I
hell of a
think they
lot.
use it as well. They use tribalism to
Oh
make
yeah, they do,
changes.
and that's why they can get away. It's a political mindset that they've got. Is the fact that we know that these won't get together and won't be unison. But back to what I was saying, it's it's very difficult with the referees because it's I don't know, it frustrates and angers me with what's going on, and all that it does is you end up ranting about it, and I don't really like to be that kind of person.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is you've got someone who's involved at the height, or who's the chair of that in Howard Webb, and let's be honest, in his refereeing decisions he used to make, we saw Ryan Babel getting fined £10,000 for making out they didn't give away penalties at Old Trafford, and I'll be honest, I quite stand by Ryan Babel because some of the decisions he gave was ludicrous. But I do feel with what you say. I know you said that I don't want them coming out straight after the match, but I like them to come out maybe on a Monday Night Football after the weekend and everything's calmed down, to then come out and explain the reason and what they saw. It kind of helps us then understand as to how referees ref, because until that happens, until we have communication like that, no one's gonna, or even a debate, and a good debate, not something that's managed as to what you can and can't say, but all hands off, something like the overlap, something like that, where fans have an opportunity to raise issues and to provide answers and ways to move our game forward, which is all what we want. We want the game to be moved forward. We're quite happy to take the technology, but the weird thing about it is we don't even use the same offside technology that UEFA use because of the ball sponsorship deal that the Premier League had got, and they weren't and they were reluctant to do anything about that.
Yeah, and the automation actually reduces human error.
Exactly, and anything that can reduce that can help. What I'm not against, and what I do not want, is people turn around saying, "Well, we need ex-footballers in there." No. I totally disagree with that, because there's an unconscious bias that every football player will have. There will be some part of that will be used against certain clubs that they used to play for, against their main arch rivals. And I think the unconscious bias is a big factor when it comes to ex-players being in a box trying to give a decision for Liverpool, and they used to play for Man United. I can't see it myself.
So I think for me, I have a real problem with the ex-footballer line of, you need someone that's played at the highest level. No, you don't, because, and this is a classic example of them pushing themselves up to this moral authority. Oh, I must know more than you because I've played the game. You've played the game. Great. You've been revered. You've been loved. Great. Doesn't mean you have more common sense. Doesn't mean you understand the laws. Doesn't mean you understand the rules. I get if we were saying, let's bring in an ex-lawyer to talk about the law, but we're not. We're bringing in someone who's played a game to check. It doesn't make sense, and it's the classic. I know more than you, so I'm the moral superiority because I've played the game. No, so great, you've played the game, but you're not morally superior to a fan, to anything like that. And they do this quite a lot in punditry as well, where they're like, oh, well, I've played the game, so I know more. Great. If you didn't have fans, we wouldn't exist. This sport wouldn't exist. You wouldn't exist. So maybe the fan's opinion, actually, and the collective fan opinion is more important than your morally superior, I've played the game, I know more than you type of position. So all that crap really pisses me off. And it's used as a way to go, oh, look how more powerful I am than you. And it's no one's opinion. Like, there's loads of people with opinions in the chat that I don't always agree with, but it's their opinion. They're entitled to it. They help fund this game. They help make it what it is what it is.
Football is a very opinionated game. What you see on what I see, prime example. All my mates, we all are all around different parts of the ground, and all of us will see the game differently, and we'll see things that others haven't seen during the game. That's people sitting there watching in a ground. Even when I'm watching on the TV, I'm not necessarily following the board. I'm following certain players' style, the positionings, etc. So I'll start seeing things differently. Me mates will do the same. It's very opinionated. Everyone loves their opinion. If it wasn't, you wouldn't say it and you wouldn't believe in it. So everyone's entitled to their opinion. You don't have to agree with everyone, And me with my ranting, I know Jen loves, but people won't like what I say at certain times, and I get that. But I also like to hear what other people think, and see if it's not about changing my position or changing my opinion or changing theirs. It's about taking on board what other people say and being able to see that it's not a go at yourself. It's just I'm seeing things slightly different to what you do, and being able to maneuver yourself around what other people say and not take it to heart, and to take it as an emotion and move yourself away from it and treat it as just what it is. It's just someone else's opinion, and it helps with debating. If we all agreed on the same thing, it would be a boring world we live in. So
Yeah, and thankfully, most of you are not in our stream chat room, because that gets feisty with people sometimes.
But it gets worse when you're texting or WhatsApping people, because you'll read it in a certain way than is unnecessarily being said. So your head will automatically tell you that he's having a go at you there. And then that hypers everyone up. It's madness.
Helio putting those 3 points could decide the league. Maybe a sorry will help. If they say sorry, then that's legal precedent for us to be able to sue them. Honestly, when you watch that Howard Webb interview, I think he has been briefed to avoid saying certain things and stuff like that with the Michael Owen show. It's turned very political now. Obviously, he couldn't get away with it on the Diaz one, but there's other Liverpool decisions, shall we say, that were wrong, and have avoided them because they're trying to avoid talking about Liverpool as much as they can, because I think Liverpool have taken a very, very strong line, so they're being really careful in how they think, because obviously everyone's seen the letter Liverpool put out.
And again, it's one of the big six.
Yeah.
And when you upset one of the big six, you know about it. Sadly, that's how our game is at the minute. It's deemed for the richest teams, and not done in a way for the other 14 who are part of the Premier League. I don't agree with it. I think there should be something that should be done about that. But once you've got, the worst thing about this is that the decisions that have gone against us have been significant enough for them to think, wow, we need to think again here. Because I'll be honest, if it was Everton, if it was Watford, if it was Everton, if it was Brighton, it was someone like that, or Sheffield United, they could mop it under, brush it under the carpet.
Did it with Nottingham Forest, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, I haven't looked into much about
the United Forest one. They blatantly just ignored it.
Oh yeah, and why? Because it's not one of the big six. It's not a United. It's not Liverpool. It's not Arsenal. It's not Man City. So it's sadly that's the way football is at the minute. And the worst culprits for it is that Sky are in the pockets of the PGMOL, so they won't call it out either. You hear the reaction of Gary Neville at the Spurs on the Sunday, after the game, and then you listen to what he says on the Sunday. He then goes back on a few things that he actually said, and I think he was probably told by senior people at Sky Sports that you need to calm yourself down and stop going into them, and etc. etc. It's sad in a way.
Yeah, I mean, both came in high as a pretty good one. I don't think it necessarily beats good process. Wait a second. You said offside. But yes, it is a good one. Do you know what? We're going to move away from the thing. Me and Kev, we've told them what to do. We'll leave our numbers. If they want to know like how to sort it out, just give us a call. Do you know what? We might even clip the first 15 minutes where we talk about how to solve it and just put that out as a separate video. But now we're going to talk about Liverpool. Is it 2.0? It's not really. It's modern era 2.0, really, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
FSG 2.0 is probably a fairer way to describe it. New leadership team coming in. So obviously, Edwards confirmed as football CEO, which means Billy Hogan's still the CEO. So I don't know if that means the plan is teach Edwards about the commercial side of things, because obviously he'll keep hold of that for now. And then when Vegas basketball sets off, Hogan goes, and then Edwards takes over as CEO. That would be my initial guess. And Richard Hughes appointed as the new sporting director at 44 years old. Lucky bastard.
What were you doing when you were 44, James?
I'm not 44 yet, thank you very much. I had a hard paper round, but I'll tell you.
Tell me about it. That must have been going up Everest, that.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'll be sporting director of Liverpool in 4 years, I'll tell you. But no, in fact, I'll be the chair of the PGMOL.
Oh, good God.
But these are two. Everyone's starting to get happy with these appointments, and I think I'm not going to praise FSG for Michael Edwards because I think it's a bloody obvious appointment. You do whatever you can to get him through the door, and yes, they've done it. So well done. You've done what you should have done. It was the most obvious candidate, and I think yes, many other teams tried to get hold of him, but we managed to get over the line what needed to be done. Richard Edwards is an interesting appointment, isn't it? Because he was Bournemouth's technical director and now he's a sporting director, which is interesting in a couple of ways, Kev. One, it means that we're going with our structure. So even if a manager wants to work without this director of football, tough, because we've appointed a director of football before we've appointed a manager. And two, it shows they've got a real clear vision as to how they're going to build this out and what roles and responsibility, which is really important because pretty much we're gutting everything first team level. I think Alex Inglethorpe and all his youth team are staying. It's good. All the coaches and everything like that are going at the end of the season. You know, Pep Linders, Peter Kravitz, and all that. I don't know about the nutritionist and stuff like that. We'll find out, I guess, in the fullness of time. But good start.
It's a start. That's what.
Good start.
I'll say it's a start. I think FSG have been fortunate that Edwards has been willing to come back. I think FSG have given him the world and more for him to come back. And why wouldn't you take what Liverpool want? I think we are getting away from what we've seen with Klopp having a big say and a manager having a big say on transfers that come in. So the likes of Cody Gakpo, the likes of a few others that Klopp has instigated and has brought in and has used that as I think that will go. I think what you'll see now is you'll have Richard Hughes who will be installing the transfer policy of the club onto the manager. So the likelihood of having the freedom that Klopp has had and experienced in the last 18 to 24 months will be gone. I think they've learned lessons from that. And I think this is how it's coming. I think Edwards will have something to do with bringing in a second club at the club. And he'll be integral to find out who that will be. But for me, it's a start. But it'll also give you an insight as to out of the front runners who are currently working within that kind of threshold of a sporting director, and if any of them are, and it'll give you an indication of who we will possibly are leaning towards coming in as manager.
Yeah, I kind of think we're going to start to get a bit of an indication now these two are in place, because obviously they're going to start to put some work in on it. To give you the best signings, let's Richard Hughes best signings. Nathan Ake, Chelsea, 19 mil. Dominic Solanke, I think has been a great player for Bournemouth. I think he started slow, but he won the Golden Boy and stuff like that. Aaron Ramsdale, they signed from Sheffield United. Callum Wilson, they scored from they signed from Coventry.
He also identified Virgil van Dijk. He also identified Alisson. Due to Liverpool being in that kind of ring, trying to bring him in, that is the reason why Bournemouth never went any further or got any further, because of the money that was getting involved. He's very close to Milan. He's fluent in Italian, so that may help with certain players who are playing in the Italian league, not necessarily Italian players. He can speak, I think, Portuguese as well. He is a constant, has got constantly being able to tell everyone's names, of identifying players as a running list. He's good with all that, but we'll see if that comes into fruition with ourselves. Mike Edwards has got his best mate, so we'll see how it works. So far it looks good, but at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words, and we need to see how we need to see the managed makeup. We need to see how that works and the interactions there, and probably in the transfer window, we'll be able to see something that will show us what this new version of Liverpool is going to do within the transfer market. I think we're going to go back to that Moneyball kind of view of looking at ideal potential players of coming through and using that going forward. I think it's integral to keep Inglethorpe at the actual club because of the work he's done at the academy. Because I think now you'll probably see more of an influx of players coming through due to the first team being based in the same place as the academy players. So you're going to see a lot more influx of players who are going to be necessarily on the bench or getting their way through into the first team. So it's integral that we keep that going forward. We have a philosophy, we have a way of our transfer process is going to be. We now need someone as a manager who will adhere to that and is comfortable in working in that kind of environment. And once that's in place, then that's where you'll start seeing a unison across the board, and that's when you start winning things, is when everyone's flowing in the same direction and singing from the same hymn sheet. There's no point in bringing a manager in who's not used to this kind of structure above him, because all that's going to do is just fracture, and it's not going to help.
Yeah, I think I completely agree, and I think there's a couple of worries that I've got about these two appointments. And these are just hypothetical worries. I don't know anything or anything like that before anyone goes, well, how do you know? But I'll explain them on what we do know, which is we know obviously Michael Edwards and Klopp worked really well together. We know that obviously for certain reasons that broke, and Edwards decided to leave. We've seen Klopp in interviews say obviously he's a very good professionally, and he was very careful to say the word professionally. So we know that there's been some sort of clash.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes with conflict in a workforce, it can be really good because it helps you get to the right decision. And now Michael Edwards is going to be above everyone. He has power to make decisions that he wants to potentially make. So is he going to go, I want to sign this, I want to sign this, and I want to sign this with his sporting director and not give his manager the same opportunity and voice? Are they going to be as strong? Sometimes the thing, isn't it, with more power, you listen less and you talk more.
Yeah.
And you lose less data. So I think and this is the main thing, there's already rumours coming out. Liverpool want to sign Kimmich regardless of who the manager is. They want to sign this player from Fulham regardless of who the manager is. So they're already seemingly there's noises coming out from that way. Whether they're true, whether they're false, we don't know. at any moment in time. Obviously, if that Fulham defender is available for a free, fine, get it done. But that's the big thing. You know, when you've got a brand new leadership dynamic, how do you give everyone a voice? How do you ensure that you sign who the manager wants to sign? How do you ensure that if it's Alonso, if it's Almiron, if it's De Zerbi or anything like that, that they fit in with those two personalities and characters? Because that decision's made.
Yeah.
Now, that's what we need to see, really, isn't it?
It is, and it'll look or be perceived by some that it's a bit of a ganging up from structurally above them. It's a 2 against 1 in a vote. It's all that's going on that we're not necessarily a part of, but again, it's something that won't be far from our minds as to, and we're going to see it during the next transfer window when we start getting linked with X, Y, and Z, and we went for Y instead of Z, and you know and then we'll start with, well, was that Edwards and Hughes ganging up on our new manager or what? And then so it opens up that kind of debate, and I hope we try and negate all away from all that. It's difficult, and that's why I think if you've got someone who's used to working within that kind of environment, then they are used to and knows the pros and the cons of it, albeit at a bigger club. But again, they'll understand how it works. Bringing someone new into that environment is probably it can be a good thing, but it can also be a negative thing as well, because they're not used to that kind of not getting their way with players. And what happens if our new manager doesn't get his first option, gets a second option? What happens there? And you know, it's all about, and that's where it's all about alignment, and we all are singing off the same hymn page is where we all need to be, because otherwise you can see fractures already straight away with how we are going to get to certain decisions on players who are going to be brought in and who's going to leave, etc. You know, you say the new manager wants to keep a certain player, but we decide no, it doesn't look right because of X, Y, and Z, and his injury record. We think we can get money now, and the money we'll get now is probably the most we'll get. And is that a 2-1 against the manager? You know what I mean? It's you have all that to say. How much does the actual manager get to in the transfer window? How much does he have to say? And then bringing his case forward for certain players. Does he have to bring a portfolio and a thesis? So you know,
do we get to veto people that they want to sign because of personality? You know, do we end up with the Balotelli situation?
Exactly. So it can open a can of worms, but again, if you've got someone who's been part of that makeup or the clubs, yeah, it's a bigger club, but you're still under the same kind of guide as what you've been used to, and it makes it easier to deal. You can focus more on managing the team and not necessarily have to worry about the players that we're bringing in, because we understand the way you play football, and these are the players that we're giving you. You may get given 4 options. You get to pick one of them. It may be based on that. Who knows?
Yeah, and what I'm hoping is they speak to the manager. How do you want to play football? What type of skills do you want in what positions? What weaknesses have you got here? What statistics should we do? The team go away, they pull together a list, they all sit in a room and they go, I like that one, I like that. Let's arrange a meeting with this person and this person. Okay, well, spoke to them and I can get them for this, I can get them. And I hope they come together as a proper leadership team, but there is a very real risk, you know, especially with our fan base at the moment. You know, we took one defeat to United, and fair enough, we were terrible. They won first B, but honestly, and that it's not even losing. Like, I was gutted, but it's not even the losing that bothers me. It's how quickly everyone just turned on players.
Yeah,
like
and
social media. Gakpo, Gomez, it just went toxic instantly.
It will do, and I feel as though like the way everyone's having a punch. I've seen something from Talksport from a certain ex-Manchester City defender who's called Klopp useless or not good enough because he hasn't won not much. It's all clickbait. It's all to let's all have a little go. Let's all put the kidney blow in while we can because the world's ending. That's what it feels like. Um, it's always bad to get beat by your rival, regardless of what state their club is in. We didn't help ourselves in the game whatsoever. We thought it was one after the first half, and we didn't tactically. And with the substitutions make any difference to the game at all. We allowed them to come in and they utilised that and they got through. I think what hurts even more is then you find out that they got Coventry in the next round, and that's 2 days out at Wembley that you automatically guarantee that they'll get. And as fans, that's what we wanted. We wanted the Klopp story to end. I think a defeat is as good as a win. I think we learned from what happened last season. I think the mentality we will now. I think what's helped is that it's come straight after and we got an international break straight away. So that has kind of been a benefit, and we can rest, go away, dust ourselves down, and get ready for the remainder part of the season. And the mentality then will show us to how strong we actually are. I think we're a lot stronger than what we are from last season, because that kind of defeat would have been gut wrenching to us. As long as in 3 weeks' time we go there and we win, I'll be more than ecstatic.
Here's the thing: January, when everyone was out, and we were playing, McConnell, Dan, Clark, and they've done great, by the way. But we were playing all the kids. We're playing Joe Gomez, CDM. In January, when you're looking at going, we've got 11 first teamers out. You'll be 1 point. No, you'll be level on points for the title. You'll still be in the Europa League, but you'll be out the FA Cup. Would you take it? Everyone would go, yeah, of course I'll take it. Yeah. So chill out. Yes, we could have had Coventry in the semi-final.
It's hard though, James, and it's hard because it shows how emotive football is, and it shows how tribal it is as well. It goes deep within you. It's hard. It's a drug. It's an addiction, and it's hard to switch off at times. I'll be honest. And the problem what doesn't help is being constantly involved in any media output and keeping yourself in that loop. Take yourself away, go for a walk, watch another sport, take the dog for a walk, go do something, take your mind off it if you can. That's what you need to do. The problem is that when you keep yourself within that pond of vile and chaotic and people kicking off, that's where it just builds and builds and builds and builds even more. And then you start doing stupid things online that you shouldn't be doing. And and that goes on both sides. It's stupid how football does that to you, and it's stupid when it's a bit like a sober person looking what he does when he's drunk, and realizing that what they've done was wrong and idiotic. But in that moment, it was the right thing to be doing, and it's hard to get your head around that as well. Do you know what I mean?
I kind of get what you're saying. I at the same time think, at what point in your life do you go, do you know what? I'm going to message one of our players on social media and tell them to get out of my club.
I know.
Sort yourself out.
I know, but the problem is that no one's willing to give themselves 20 seconds before doom, press and send to think, am I doing the right thing here? And no one will be. It's difficult. It's it's crazy.
Maybe it's our age. Maybe we're older.
Mate, I've had a lot going on the last couple of months, and it's maybe able to take my mind off and focus on other things and realize other things are more important than a game of football. But it still hurts. It still feels like a knife in my heart every time we get beat, and it's the manner that we got beat as well. But I end up taking the dog for a walk and taking the kids out, and it that got me head around, look, it's only a game of footy. We go again, we've got a week off, we'll get back into it and start again. And that's all you can do. But the problem is if you can't switch off and you're continuously getting involved in it, then you will start doing stupid things. And it can lead to stupid things happening to yourself personally and professionally. So it's difficult to do, and it's hard for people to take when you're in that emotion to do the right thing, and it's hard, and I get that, but sometimes you need to switch off if you can.
Well, as Klopp famously said, it's the most important of the unimportant things.
It is.
And that's why everyone loves to watch football. That's why everyone loves to talk about football when we do these shows every day. And if you are new here, please like and subscribe to the channel. This evening, myself and Kev have sorted out the PGMOL. So if you haven't seen that, just go back to the start of the video. We've pretty much worked out exactly what they need to do, which is just pick up the phone to rugby and ask them how the referee actually communicates, and they should be absolutely fine.
Or let them or let the rugby refs.
Yeah, give them a game.
Show
At least
them
there'll be contact. And then we talked about, obviously, the new leadership team, talked about some of the worries, talked about some of the benefits, talked about some of the concerns, and then just, close off addressing some of the craziness that we've seen online in terms of, from our players and stuff like that. This has been LFC Transfer Room. This has been myself and Kev just going through Howard Webb of lies and his lawyer speak, because now that show with Michael Owen has just been, please, Liverpool, don't sue the crap out of us, because we don't have a leg to stand on, so we're not going to admit any wrongdoing anymore. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care.